Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for staying with us as we go into our last series of the day. Oh my God. I'm not tired at all. Dirty Lake and the boys, who won against Pink Ravens, although that series wasn't exactly broadcasted. They went 2-0 against Pink Ravens, and then we're also going to be watching them go against the Professors, who went 2-1 against R&R. This is still going to be a best of 3, so we know EWT has already moved forward. Talk to us about this bracket, Cynic.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't see D-Lab, but we heard D-Lab 2-0'd, and Professor obviously had a pretty back and forth game of R&R, and as we just witnessed, EWT completely decimate FFG. But Professors and D-Lab is going to be a spicy game. I can see this going 3 maps, but yeah, I don't think this will go the way everyone predicts, but I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, this is going to be real good. Is it going to be a 2-0 or is it going to be a 2-1? Mr. Meds.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a close match. I think we saw a really close match for Professors and R&R. I think that those two teams were, really evenly matched. And I think, D-Lab is on par with all three of the teams there. So I think that it's going to be a really close match. I think we're going to see a 2-1. I personally think that Professors, I'm going to ride that train. I think they're just a completely insane team. I'm going to go with them on this series, not even looking at draft here.
Wow. So we're doing predictions early. Okay.
As my early prediction, I think, they're going to go for it. But, we're going to jump in a draft soon and we're going to see. But
all right. Well, let's go ahead and go into the draft. Mr. Meds, what is the strategy here so, your team, the Professors, can win the series?
Well, so I think Professors is a very unique team. They don't prioritize duo lane like a lot of the other teams that we see in this tournament do. They actually prioritize their off lane, which is definitely something that not a lot of teams do. You see Nitro roaming and getting into that off lane and helping out Violence a lot. So I really feel as though we're going to see that duo lane of Crazy Fool and Survivor kind of taking a little bit of a backseat. But in the early to like mid game, but you always see that Survivor's making those big plays in the late game. So we're going to see that kind of, transition from Survivor, but we're also just going to see Violence take over the early to mid game. And
yeah,
you see that.
Go on, sorry.
I was just going to say, we do see the phase ban here come out for Professors. I think this is a pretty high priority pick. We haven't really seen a lot of phase today, but I think she's super strong.
Yeah, Professor's banned at keeping up the ban. They banned it in all 3 games, if I'm not mistaken, against R&R. So they're keeping that up. They don't want to play against it. They don't want to pick it. Maybe they're saving strats if they get through. But obviously they got to get through to the next series to actually show us if they can actually play it, if they're saving any source. And obviously Dirty Laker and the boys to see what they follow up with this ban. I'm kind of expecting like the normal stuff that we've been seeing all of today, the Sevrogs, the Richters, the Deckers. And obviously, as I say that, the Decker ban is up. And obviously, I feel like this leaves up Bellica and Steel. And what else has been power picked today? Severog. Let's see which one they take. Dirty Lake. I think that they'll probably prioritize the Severog. I'm not sure if it's first pick worthy. I think that the Chimera and obviously is first pick worthy, especially against Professors. So we'll see what they take.
Yeah, so I think the Severog's a good pick. I mean, we did see that Grux was the answer into the Severog, so we'll actually, Violence took Grux into the Severog earlier on. Well, so we'll see if Dirty Lake of the boys can kind of keep that up. We'll see if that is the answer into that Severog that is first picked by Professors here. I think that those are a lot of good picks. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Bellica come in. We are seeing that Gideon prioritization again. Kind of Gadget Gideon or kind of those dueling mid laners here. And then we do see the Twin Blast as well, which is a really good pickup, as we've said in the past.
Yeah, Sevrog picked, obviously, can be played offlane in the jungle role. Interesting to see if they do pick it in the jungle role. Well, I guess the draft will kind of depend where that goes. Twin Blast, obviously, as we talked about before, very strong ADC currently. A lot of teams picking that up. And obviously Gideon, again, the two power picks in the mid lane right now alongside the Gadget. Professor's right here. I'm probably going to assume they're going to take their AD maybe, and even, but it depends what they want to prioritize. But both supports being banned, Steel being up, Richter still being up. Richter can be played in jungle, offlane, or support. Belica can be played mid lane or support. We've seen, as I said before, a lot more Belica in support today. So I'm assuming that's where it's going, and kind of just leave them to kind of counter pick later on in the game. Let's see what Dirty Lake and the boys respond to this with. I'm assuming they're going to take jungle. Okay. Chimera, as I talked about, very strong, very good clear, and will just counter out tempo the Richter or the Sevrog, depending on which one is in the jungle.
Yeah, I think the Chimera pickup third here is actually really good. We have seen Professors kind of pinch that jungle pool a little bit when the jungle is not picked up in that first phase. So I think picking up that Chimera, that high priority pick in the jungle, is actually really good. And it is something that, if it is against the Richter, can kind of keep up with that Richter clear speed. So
yeah, I'm wondering if Dirty Lake and the boys ban the Drongo here, and then Professors maybe ban something. Sorry, not Dirty Lake. Yeah, ban the Drongo. There we go. That was Survivor's strongest pick, in my opinion. See what he takes on instead.
Yeah, I think Drongo is just a pretty safe pick ban here. I mean, that silence is just so oppressive. Not a lot of teams can deal with it. It's very safe with the ultimate, and it's a good ban against Survivor. We do see the Steel come out here as well. We've seen that big, huge team fight ultimate be very impactful. So getting that one off the board.
Yeah, it also kind of removes the flexibility of it being played in the support, or it could be played in the offlane. Obviously, we know the Chimera is probably going to be jungle anyways, so kind of removes that flexibility if Dirty Laker and the boys want to try and like pick the Steel and then kind of leave the last pick as a flex. But let's see what the next pick is going to be. Obviously, as I said, Drongo is relatively strong, taking off the table. Narbash, I was not expecting that pick. I think Narbash is very underrated, very strong, but I feel like a lot of teams kind of try and play him as a front line rather than playing him as like a backline peeler that can just keep healing up his team, take a fight, heal up the team, keep going. Obviously, if he's alive in that situation, to do so. Yeah,
so I like this Narbash kind of denial here. Crazy Fool, as if anybody's watched his stream or has seen any of his match histories, he's a very big Narbash player. He's very good at the champion, so taking it away from Professors is actually a huge denial if that Belica is going to go to the mid lane. So I think it's a good pickup. Like you were saying, let's see if it can be piloted a little bit better than what we saw earlier in the day. But you know, we do see the Howitzer, that first pick Howitzer. We haven't seen that one come out yet. It does offer a lot of backline pressure, so we'll see how that one goes. And we do have the Murdoch coming in.
Yeah, I guess Professors are like, you've got a brewer, so we've got a brewer. We'll focus your backline with the Howitzer and blow somebody up, and the same with the Twin Blast. And obviously Murdoch is just as strong. I feel like an underrated ADC. Obviously gets kind of in the shadows of Twin Blast and Drongo currently. But I think this is probably the third strongest AD alongside Revenant. I guess it depends on who you ask. But obviously, Dirty Lake and the boys are looking to kind of pick up the off lane here, which will be the Greystone. We've seen it quite a lot today. It's had mixed results. But yeah, I think this is a relatively strong comp from both teams.
Are we going to see the Phoenix? Are we going to see the Phoenix? Who knows? 3 lives.
It sounds like you want to see the Phoenix, Mr. Meds.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
But the question is, are they going to be able to pop their ult and press R in time? But anyways, you know, we're looking at the draft here. What sort of synergies are we seeing, Cynic, when it comes to the Professors, I guess, team?
So I guess there's a lot of like long range setup with the Sevrog, with the roots, and obviously the catch potential with the Richter. And obviously there's a few tools in here that can set up for the Richter hook. So honestly, their team fight is very, very strong. Their pick potential is very strong. Lots of CC, lots of range damage, and obviously with the Murdoch, a lot of brain is lagging. Lots of cross map potential. Sorry. So yeah, I really like Professor's comp.
All right. So you're thinking that the professors win the draft here. Is that right, Cynic?
Yeah. Yes, I would prefer Professor's composition over Day Lake and the boys.
Okay, draft alone. Professors?
Yes, draft alone Professors, yes. But I think Day Lake and the boys take this series.
Okay. And then Mr. Meds, draft alone. Okay. No Professor's bias. Who wins the draft for you?
I still think Professors win this in the draft. I think the Chimeras, its main objective is to get in the back line, right? And I think that the Richter, the Lieutenant Belka, and the Howitzer all have these mechanisms that can kind of keep the Chimera off of them. Whether that be Howitzer E, Belka knock up, Whiplash, or, Skewer from the Richter. It all just kind of takes away from what the Chimera's game plan is trying to do. And without that Chimera going forward, they kind of lack a little bit of engage. You get the Narbash Stunk, and you do have the Gideon going forward, but you normally don't want Gideon going forward by himself, right? So I think that kind of, prohibits Dirty Lake and the boys from kind of playing out their game plan.
I know, and I kind of wonder if we're going to see another Time Flux Gideon this time around. Let's move on to predictions. So, Mr. Meds, you have locked on to the Professors, and Cynic, who are you locking on?
Day Lake and the boys. I think they'll take it 2-1. I think this game is
2-1. Okay.
Yeah, I think this game is kind of like the tempo setter. Like, I feel like who comes out the gate stronger, who's ready to win, basically, who wants it more. I'm just, yeah, I think Day Lake and the boys takes this 2-1.
I think we're going to see a lot of action. Usually we see a lot of action in the duo lane, but this time around, we've got Lauber, who's going to be playing for D-Lab. He's one of the best competing offlaners, but also we've got Violence, who showed up this tournament today, despite his DC. And you kind of mentioned, Mr. Meds, what the strategy is for the Professors for them to win their game. But when it comes to predictions, I'm going to go with Dirty Lake and the boys. I am so sorry. But anyways, I think it's also going to be a 2-1. It's going to be interesting. This series will be a banger to end the day. Without further ado, we have Lance and F6.
Hey guys, welcome back. It is me and my boy Lance. We are going to be here for the Dirty Lake and the boys versus Professors. Lance, how you feeling today, bub?
I feel so great. Last series of the day before we get into all of the matches worth the money tomorrow, starting bright and early around the same time. I am brain farted. I shouldn't have started it like this, but I think we start an hour later, but we'll confirm that for you later. And I got to stop. Take the mic 6.
No worries, bud. So one of the things I am interested in is we saw the Howie pick. This is the first time we've seen him today. And I think this is going to spice things up going off in the mid lane here, because that Howie mine is something that is dangerous, especially to a Chimera.
Yeah, and I think one of the other reasons you pick a Howitzer is because it blows an ADC up. It blows up a high priority target, right? But somebody like Twin Blast with the ability to use his dash to kind of get around a corner, hide from the Make It Rain ultimate, I feel like it's kind of a risky pick to be having this Howitzer here, especially into the kind of characters that they have as well. But we're going to have to see how that works out for them.
Yeah, it's definitely risky if not played at the most optimal, but I think if Finesse is going to be able to just utilize the mine at a very efficient pace, he's going to be able to kind of self-peel for himself in this mid lane and going in and probably be able to get himself out of some sticky situations. But we're definitely going to see how it goes. But looking over by the Twin Blast lane as well, I think they kind of try to ban out Survivor here, going with banning out the Drongo, then picking up the Twin Blast. So I want to kind of see how Survivor does with the Murdoch. I don't think it's really going to change too much. Just do have that global ult that he can use and they can tag along with, as long as they hit a CC across map.
Yeah, and you see how well that it worked for Pablo in the last series that we had. How many great long arm of the laws he puts out. He is pretty much always showing out when he is on that champion. Our deaths were saying that he's probably the 3rd or 4th best ADC, so I don't necessarily think that it hurts Survivor all that terribly bad, but I do think that they are not on the picks that they would normally prioritize, as they like to give somebody like Bellica over to Appy Picker, get Crazy Fool on the more traditional supports. However, I do know he can pump that damage out on Belica, can do the things that Belica supports do as well as anybody else that is playing the game right now, competitive or solo queue or however you want to look at it. SEA to EU, I mean, Crazy Fool's one of the top supports, and Professors is proving that we're one of the top teams as well.
Definitely are. As we saw, Grady was able to put a lot of pressure on the Howie going into the mid lane here, having to back up, but he needs to be careful. They dive onto the tier 1. I don't think he wanted to do that too much with Nitro being there. So they're going to do a nice little handshake, look for the river buffs, hopefully able to get the other one as well, but it doesn't look like it. Gideon might be able to pick up 2. Lawburn versus Seth here with the Greystone, and Seth, I don't know. It's kind of looking pretty even right now. Grady's looking for a dive over in this T1. Violence trying to get some damage on Lawbird to try and get it go. Forces the blink, but Grady has to be careful. He's taking a lot of tower damage, and so does Lawbird. You do not have anything to really go in, and they're just going to kind of just retreat. There is 2 blinks down on each side, or 1 for 1. They looked for it, wasn't there. I think Lawbird should have maybe just took a little bit of aggro for a little bit. He's gonna have to be careful taking that minion aggro. Looking at 1 HP, jeez Louise.
He gets the level up. He's good to go. So I was thinking during that, like, how is he going, or how well D-Lab was orchestrating that, where Lauber was walking up to him but not drawing that aggro, knowing that it needed to be Grady who started it and that they could split it. Violence does a really good job of recognizing what they're trying to do as well, saving that blink for the exact moment that the aggro starts on him, getting up onto that pillar and being able to survive that is huge for it. That's a little bit of a pace down for Grady. However, he is on that Chimera, a champion he's very, very comfortable with and is very capable of setting the pace of a game on, which is something I think you could expect to see from a player like Grady in a series like this. The man's got ice in his veins.
He does have. He's a very chill boy, and he's very aggressive, especially having him on Kai will allow him to do that. He wants to get into on top of people and close in that distance. So Chimera's going to definitely give him that advantage. He's going to come in.
Over in the solo lane, we got a little bit of a gank coming out here. Lauber's going to sidestep the subjugate, but he doesn't have too far to go. Nitro's going to be able to fish hook him in as well, and he's going to get stacked by Violence.
Yeah, Violence is going to stack him up there, put him on the board 1 time for us, and that's going to be a first blood going to Professors with a big gank coming from Nitro, and River Richter looking to contest mid lane here, but Grady is here as well. Lappy doesn't see it, gets silenced, is going to be in a bad position, going to have to torn space out, but they're just going to have to call it there as an even trade. But great pressure coming in from Nitro, being able to recognize there that he's going to look for that river buff and apply pressure to it to help out Howie in the mid.
And, you know, Grady, right place, right time once again in this map, as we, you know, we're going around and pretty much everywhere we're turning where there's action, minus that 1 kill they just got on the Lobber. Grady's been in the frame. He's been around. I think that's like his 3rd or 4th gank in the game already, twice in mid lane. We got a little bit of action going in the solo lane, but the Slither's probably going to get Violence out of there. Lobber's going to hop back down to these minions, try to set himself up a nice freeze to deny some experience from Violence, make him have to travel a really long way in that off lane that is the longest in the game.
Yeah, I mean, Violence took the back there, recognizing that he's not going to be able to push up, especially with Grady having the potential to be on that side of the map, noticing from that mid rotation. So smart play from Violence there, but we do see Nitro over off in the duo lane, kind of just wary, just kind of maybe potentially get the pressure on if they do apply it on the gold buff. So be careful of that on their side. But Norbash, and they're just going to kind of sit back, kind of lose it, kind of go back to the base here. One of the things I really want to kind of just put out there is the Belica, right? We do have the Belica where the Twin Blast kind of just counters her drone, right? Just with that double auto attack and just be able to burn that drone down pretty quickly. But it does affect the Narbash a lot. So they're going to have to be careful. If they don't focus that drone in those fights, the mana just taken away from this team is going to put them in a bad position in one of those elongated fights.
Yeah, I think that's a really good thing to point out, Six, because I feel like D-Lab really did draft well in this. You've seen that one of Lobber's strongest champions is Greystone. He's played it a whole lot. He's been around, been a part of this team for a good amount of time now, where he was kind of new in our earlier stages of it, had some time to play on the main stage with this team as well, and he's starting to really fit into it. And it was evident in their quarterfinal matchup against Pink Ravens that he was feeling good. They were comfortable. They came and they were ready to play today. And, you know, this is going to be an absolute slobber knocker between these two teams as we're just getting started.
Yeah, big ult coming in from Sev, but forces the Lobber ult out. Not a lot of mana, so I don't think he wants to be that too close to the wave, but Violence just kind of just respecting it, just understanding, just kind of wanting the wave to push to him, but that's okay. So ult for ult there. Lobber's gonna have to be careful for the next minute and a half or so until ults come back up. But a nice rotation coming in from Finesse too, looking over at this duel lane.
He is behind him. A good boop's gonna come out and land onto Toasty. The Make It Rain is going to come out, but Toasty's flash is going to get him away. Survivor only needs one more shot. He's going to get it with the passive from the Murdoch. Grad is going to come in and jump up onto Finesse too, but the health bar is still pretty high up. Lakeinator pretty far back in the tier 1 tower, low on health as well, and that's just going to be a 1-for-nothing trade here, but they might have to sacrifice this mini prime over to Professors for that.
Yeah, so Professor's right now with a good play. Lobber doesn't have any mana to really contest. There's not much he can do. He's going to have to back to base here. They pick up a kill on the dual lane, and now they picked up mini prime on Nitro. So right now, Professors is just playing one hell of a game.
Yeah, all over the map, making plays on multiple sides of it. There's really no way to slow somebody down when they're winning both sides of the map, and when they're able to capture like the advantages everywhere that you're kind of turning for it. I wouldn't be surprised to see D-Lab maybe have a little change of mentality on the way that they decide to attack this game and the way that they start to do it. Maybe we group earlier than we were originally anticipated, but you know Grady's not going to push that Esky as he's going for another gank already.
Yeah, bring Cole coming out from Grady, but only Toasty there with the Narbash on to follow up. Not a lot of damage, so I don't think that was very good for them there, looking into how to get some minions out of the tower. So the Crazy Fool and Survivor Gun just gonna back here. They got a free ult. They already know it's down, so they don't have too much to worry about, but they will have to potentially come back into lane here with a Grady pressure.
Yeah, so 9 minutes. We haven't seen a Fangtooth happen in this yet. We're starting to get all of these tier 1s, or getting close to having the tier 1 items come online for us here. When do you think that this first major objective is going to be fought for? Actually, we have a little bit of action here, so put a pin in that question. Gonna hit him with the Colossal Blow, but they're just two big tanky boys smacking each other with their hammer and their sword, and not too much is going to happen unless Grady decides to move around towards Violence, but the back should get off before then.
Yeah, he's definitely safe and a way back to base to come back into lane. Grady is off into the invade, but he has to be careful because you were asking what time do I think they're going to go for this Fangtooth. They're probably going to look for a pick and mid here, just like they are doing right now onto that Gideon. He's in a bad position, but big skewer coming out. Big boop snipe comes in as well. Howie out, and down goes Gideon in the mid lane, and that is enough pressure to turn them towards this Fangtooth coming up.
Yeah, 20 seconds without the big Gideon Black Hole in order to be able to disrupt this. Have the mini prime buff onto Nitro as well. They got the pick exactly where they needed it to be, and they're just going to work down this Fangtooth right now. Be able to claim that first one pretty much uncontested from D-Lab, as they also have a little bit of pressure on their dual lane tier 1 tower as well. Nitro's just going to slap this down, hit it with its chains, tell him who its master is, hit it with the whiplash, and then he's going to hunt it right at the end, and that's going to be the first objective claimed for Professors.
They're definitely going to be taming this wild dinosaur. One goes to Professors, up in kills, but Grady applying some pressures to Violence. I don't think there's too much that you can do here, Grady. You don't have a red buff. There's not too much. Finesse 2 rotating over. Grady's in a bad position, but Lobber's here to kind of just peel for him a little bit, and it's not going to be too much that's going to come out of that.
Yeah, Finesse is just going to work his way back to the mid lane as well. Appy Picker gets a couple autos off into the tier 1 tower, but he's got to retreat as Crazy Fool's making his way into the lane too. But yeah, with the torn space, going to get himself all of the way back to his tier 1 tower. Not a whole lot of threat coming out when you're on a champion that is as safe as the Gideon. Also has the the movement speed buff on him too. Crazy Fool is trying to give me a caster's curse. He's actually just going to walk away from it, decide not to make his good buddy Lance look silly.
And that's okay, right? Because we never could really be in the minds of everybody on the map. But we do see Lekinator taking a nice little roam over to mid, potentially trying to get a pick. But Nitro and Violence are going to be going over to Lauber, and he's going to be in a fight for his life. Forces the ult out, but can they pick up this kill? We do have the skewer coming up off cooldown here shortly, and we might potentially have a hook, but they're just going to have to call it off. But it looks like they were able to pick up the Howie in mid lane from that Lekinator rotation with the Twin Blast, and also with Grady there.
The early tier 1 tower is so big for them as well. That's going to free this Gideon up to move around the map while the enemy mid laner is going to have to sit in there, the howitzer, and try to defend these waves as they are crashing into his tower over and over again with no way to like really reset that. It kind of puts howitzer on an island, and you already have one champion on an island because you have an offlaner. Now you kind of have two with it losing, or with your tier 1 dropping that early, and that's not great if you are, you know, cheering for the professors in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, they do have the objective pressure right now, so it's not too big of an impact, but it does open up the map for the Dirty Lake and the boys. You use it. They're going to be using that pressure with Gideon to be able to roam here a little bit more, since he does not have the pressure of that T1 to have to take down, and how he's going to have to be careful with Finesse 2 over there in the mid lane, because now he does not have a T1 to fall back to. So look for a little bit more pressure coming out of Gideon into this duo lane to try and get Lekinator and Toasty ahead. But Nitro's there to kind of stop Appy from even thinking about rotating over.
Yeah, not much to do about it, as everybody is doing what they need to stay in a line that nobody really feels too willing to cross. The stakes are too high at this stage in the main event for you to be the person that makes that mistake, that cracks the game open for the enemy team. And these players are so disciplined, and they've been playing together for such a long time that they don't want to let their teammates down. They want that guaranteed money for themselves. They don't want to have to play another series tomorrow just to earn a little bit. They want to guarantee it tonight and go to bed dreaming about riches that they may potentially be able to earn from our finals tomorrow if they can take down our defending champion. Even worse timing.
I mean, if they can definitely come out of this game with a good mindset, they are probably going to be able to give them a good contestant or possibly even win it. But Nitro applying a little bit of pressure, but Lauber just kind of jumps away, looking for the second mini prime here. Is coming up, spawning here any moment now. But I mean, looking at this team comp lands, I mean, the Sevrog late game, the Murdoch and the Belk and Howie late game as well. I mean, there's just so much that can happen, but the life steal and sustain coming in from the Chimera and Narbash over on Dirty Lake and the boys. I mean, who really comes out in this in the mid to late game?
I mean, I think it has to favor D-Lab. Think about how much or how difficult it's going to be to kill them, and then throw a Greystone on top of that as well, who can potentially have multiple lives, multiple health bars, and it's so hard to just get through one of them when you've got a Greystone in the back slashing. But we got a fight popping up. We got to talk about early ult is going to come out of Lauber, as there's a bunch of them onto the offlaner as well. Appy's going to have to take a torn space away as it was raining down on top of him. The skewer's going to come out and hit a couple of them up onto the stairs. Grady is in reverse, but he's going to hit a big coal backwards. Leap up forward. He got a little bit of health regen, but Nitro's going to come through and be able to get him down. Lauber is running for his life. Toshi's going to get booped back into the 2-pit. Gonna flash over the wall, try to get away, but the Song of the People is not going to be enough, because Professors chases him down and are able to take it. That's a 2-for-0 trade in favor of Professors.
Man, you see that aggression coming out of the Professors, knowing that Narbash is not at the point where he can just kind of sustain everybody through that fight, and they pick him up. Toasty got hit with the Howie mine we were talking about earlier, putting him out of position, and they're able to capitalize and follow with the blink follow-up and just kind of clean that kill up over there. And what a great fight coming out of the Professors. Yeah,
and it's going to put them, you know, in ahead pretty comfortably in this kill score here, 2-6. That's, you know, 4 up. They've probably got a decent amount of CS ahead of them at this point, because we saw how well they farmed into the last team Rust and Real Life session that they played. There is a little bit of a window here that D-Lab is going to recognize. They're going to use this in order to take their first Fangtooth of the day. Nitro goes fishing for a little bit, but isn't able to land a big bass hook out there. And, you know, they're just going to get away with that right under their noses, kind of.
Yeah, we saw they did go down there, but that kind of gave them a respawn timer to set themselves up to go towards this Fangtooth. And good job on the awareness of that and just be like, hey, we have a small window, let's take it. They took it, they got the Fangtooth, they're cleaning up their neutral objectives, kind of just being on time and just being able to get back a little bit more into this game, even though they lost that team fight prior to that event.
Yeah, it's tough. And you see, we see Lauber getting aggressed on again. He's going to get Colossal Blowed back into the rat in the mech suit, but he, you know, already so difficult to kill. He's got the Sapphire's Mantle on deck already. He's already got the Overlord as well. It's going to be tough to tear through that. I don't believe that he even needed to ult during that. Actually, it does look like his ult is down, so they did get that out of him, but they traded it for the Colossal Blow as well, and it's a little bit of time spent on Lauber that may potentially get an advantage in pace somewhere else on the map, especially when you have a champion like Chimera who's so able to set that pace that Grady's on.
Right now, he's not really doing like the utmost best he possibly can. He's been kind of shut down when he's trying to accomplish with the pressure with Chimera, and it's just unfortunate, but they're able to kind of just get these pressure with the Lauber. They're forcing people to rotate over to him, forcing the ults coming out, and that way they can at least get this Appy on the Gideon to kind of rotate a little bit more. So I want to see Gideon rotate a little bit more to this dual lane, or rotate with Howie to this off lane whenever he rotates over there, and kind of help out Lauber to get these change of tides in these fights, because I think 2v2 with a Lauber over there and the Gideon, I think they're able to turn that fight versus the Howie in this F.
I agree, and that's something that we kind of expected from them when we saw them take the tier 1 tower really early in that mid lane and push that down for Appy. We expected him to be moving over and helping make up, you know, some numbers disadvantages here, and it hasn't really been the case since they did that. It is still the only tier 1 tower that has fallen in this game, as Grady's going to have to retreat, and they're going to give this second orb prime buff up over to Professors as well, who I believe got the first one too.
They definitely did, but they are applying a lot of pressure over there on the duo lane with Twin Blast and Narbash just kind of just poking away. Survivor is by himself, so he has to be careful. We do see Appy Picker rotating through the red side jungle. I don't think Professor gonna be able to rotate fast enough. Survivor is in a bad position. He has to blink away, but he blinks into the black hole. 1 HP in a dream. He buckshots toasting Appy away. Is he gonna be able to survive this?
No, he's gonna run into Grady. There's no way.
Nope, his team is here. He might go off. Big crash, bam, boom, does secure the kill, but can Professors come in for this fight and clean it up? And he gets popped up when he tries to go to call Howie's in the big ult. Grady's just holding the W key. He's not scared in this fight with the Narbash heal behind him, but he's gonna have to back away when he's looking low. Nothing else is gonna come out of this fight.
Yeah, the heroics come out of Grady there. He says, if I die, I die. And he's just jumping in at him, knows that they can turn that fight, especially because the ADC gets picked so early in that fight. Really good rotation. It's like they can hear what we were, you know, recommending to Appy Picker. They took the advice of the great F6, and all of a sudden they find the advantages in it. Oh, the subjugate's just a little bit early and lands before Lauber lands, but that's gonna force the Greystone ult out once again. Very close to Lauber falling there, though. Violence is really putting on a show today.
He is putting on a show indeed, my friend. And honestly, he was a millisecond away from a absolute outplay on Lauber there, but unfortunately was not able to land the same time Lauber landed, and who was able to get his ult off. But you can see this pressure that Violence is applying. I mean, a lot of times 7 about that level 12 is not going to really tremendously be too powerful, especially if he's not be able to get his stacks online with the pressure he's going to be getting from the Grady here. But he's doing a great job holding his own and just kind of just fighting his 1v1s and 2v1s inside of himself. And I think he's going to become a big factor inside this third, Fangtooth fight coming up, because as you can see, Finesse and the rest of Professors are setting up for this neutral objective.
Yeah, and this is what I wanted to see out of Nitro after taking that mini prime. They got that advantage. They can buff their minions up. They needed to start a fight, and that's exactly what they did, as Nitro's going to land a hook here. We do already have Survivor down, so a numbers advantage for D-Lab here, as it looks like Crazy Fool is falling very low as well. He's going to go Appy Picker very deep with the black hole, and right where he needs it. Finesse 2 is going to fall as well, and that is a clean 3-0 for D-Lab. That should be an easy pickup of this second Fangtooth for them, third of the game.
Oh my, what you really saw there was Grady coming into play with the Chimera, the aggressive play, focusing the back line, not worrying about the tanks and applying that pressure. We do see Violence over here putting pressure on Lobber. Lobber does not have his ult. He has to be careful. Blink for blink, subjugate misses, but is going to have to leap away. He's not going to be able to take a kill. But back to that amazing 4v4 fight that we had over in the duo lane. They pick up the second thank you for them. Lobber's not be able to kill. Big Sewer comes out. They dive the tower, but not really a lot you can do when the ult comes back up for Greystone in the offlane. So he's going to survive 2 ultimates down on the Professor side. And there's not really much they can do here. They're going to have to back out of this fight because there's a big rotation coming over to this lane with Lakenator and Toasty.
Yeah, you know, a little bit overzealous with what they were looking for. Kind of tricky to dive a Greystone. His ult must have came up like as they were walking in, because I know that these guys are tracking those timers, especially at this stage in the game and with as much on the line as it is. But let's take a look at the tower line, okay? So we have all 3 towers tier 1 still up for D-Lab. All 3 have fallen for Professors. So a pretty big gold advantage. Oh, actually, it looks like as we say that, the first tower will fall for D-Lab, but that's still a pretty big, you know, gold advantage across the whole board for D-Lab. They've got a little bit more control of the map. Survivor's got a long ways. He's got to run from Appy Picker, but the torn space had already been used. Not a whole lot to be able to pursue him with here, but you know, the map is kind of open for D-Lab. They have the ability to move to where they want to, and you're starting to see that. It feels like it took them a while to decide to start to go fast, but now they're going. Grady's hit the items that he needs to. He's now level 11. The Cola's going to be coming off of cooldown a lot more regularly, and they're really starting to pressure Professors.
They are starting to apply that pressure that we know that Chimera can do, and they're going to have to be careful, but they need to lock down Grady when he's diving into that back line. How he's going to have to kind of peel for himself a lot earlier, save that mine a little bit, and maybe just kind of have the Richter just kind of pick him off away from Survivor so he can kind of have that output of damage just kind of increase on the team. And definitely they're going to need to make sure they pick up the anti-heal here across the board, because Narbash, Chimera, and into a Greystone, that's a lot of healing being done, and they're going to have to negate that, even though it might not be much, but it might be enough to turn the tides in the battle coming up.
Yeah, and you see the, you know, the true silver bracelet being done on Toasty. That means the crash bang wallops are all going to come through. Every single one of them is going to land unless you decide to twitch and focus the Narbash during that time. Nice little fight over the Scion buff. It looks like Violence probably gets that with the Colossal Blow as he knocks Slobber away. Sure would be nice to be able to tell that somehow, but I will sell the narrative that it was Violence who took it.
I am 100% sure he took it with that Colossal Blow, with how low health that Cyan buff was looking. But that, I mean, that's something you want to sacrifice for. Every little XP, every little amount of gold helps in that fight, especially in the offlane. You just want to get a little advantage over your opponent. As we see here, though, Dirty League and the boys are kind of a little bit grouped up. Even worse, time is kind of have to back out of even their own red side jungle. So maybe another fight coming up here pretty soon. Big snatch from the River Richter inside, but Grady's here to kind of help peel for the Appy Picker in the middle with Gideon. But my, oh my, the River Richter strikes again.
Man, he's just hiding right on that fog wall. Couldn't have been more than 1 pixel away from crossing. It hits that super good angled hook. That is a work of art out of Nitro there, honestly.
Man, honestly, if Grady was not there, I think that was a potential kill. So they're gonna have to be careful with that fog wall with Gideon over there. Appy, you're gonna have to probably put a little bit more wards down. Be careful for the next time, especially with these river buffs coming up. But we do see we got Lakenator over there by the lane by himself, kind of trying to push it out. Violence not really too scared of Lobber. There's, at this point, these are 2 big boys. There's not a lot of damage they can do with each other unless it's a sustained fight. So looking here, just kind of just melding out. Nice little, everybody just in their wave, but a pickup of a kill from the Howie out of position from Dirty Lobbers, and the boys, my oh my, the Grady is pressing his W key like no other.
Yeah, he just keeps running at them, and you know, it's interesting that they just kind of be coming out of nowhere, but it's because of the like cohesiveness that D-Lab plays with. They follow each other around the map. They know where these guys are going to be. They know how to play with their teammates. These guys have been together for so long. They were the runner-up in our last event. They're looking for another crack at even worse timing, and they're showing everybody why we were wrong during cutting to the core, where we all picked Pink Ravens over them. They felt slighted by that. They said, hey, that's That's bull honky. We're going to show you that you are wrong about it. And so far today, they have absolutely done that. Kudos to the way that D-Lab is playing. The teamwork is just on another level from them.
We got a Fangtooth coming up. The Primordial is up, and the Orb Prime, big guy, the daddy of itself, is up as well. So we're looking for these neutral objective fights. So whoever is going to be able to get the position on this fight is going to have the advantage. So we're going to see what they want to do, which team wants to act first on which objective coming up. But right now, Dirty Lobber or Dirty Lake and the boys do have the pressure, especially with just the team comp themselves this late into the game. It's 26 minutes in, a lot of items, a lot of healing coming out of Narbash. Defense is on it, and it looks like they're heading over towards the prime side of things here, Lance.
Yeah, they do, and we've got to keep our eyes on Appy Picker. He's got the 3, like, holy trinity that a Gideon is looking for. Got the True Silver Bracelet, got the Megacosm, got the Combustion. Gonna be hard to stop him once he does get into his ult. That's 2 True Silver Bracelets over on the sides of D-Lab, as Toasty has it as well. So trying to mitigate a lot of this CC that Professors has with the Subjugate, with everything from the Richter, with the knock-up potentially from Bellica, if you're able to get it in before she uses it. And that's a whole lot of disruption and a whole lot of potentially wasted resources targeting these people with the bracelet on them that I think might give D-Lab an advantage in some of these fights as the game goes on.
Brady kind of in a weird position, has to use his cleanse inside his kit, but Violence does not care. He is ready to fight anybody. He's taking little to no damage from Lobber, but just says, you know what, I can't run this down. But we see the Professor for a big rotation.
Lobber's in big trouble here.
Oh, and he's able to pop out. They're just going to reject. Big hook coming in from the top. Skewer knocks him down, but we got the black hole coming out of top. Howie ults right on top of him with the Epoch and Stasis. They're still fighting. Toasi's just in this fight, playing as he should as a Narbash, healing his team to victory. Down goes Nitro. That is 3 down for the Professors. Another one bites the dust, and this looks like an Orb Prime for Dirty Lake and the boys.
Oh, what a rotation there. I felt like Lobber got caught with his pants down in the middle of the lane. He was getting flanked by all of the members of Professors, and then out of nowhere, D-Lab shows up for their boy over there, gets the whole clean wipe of them. Only Survivor makes it out with a health bar, and that's going to be the big prime for D-Lab. They're going to be able to probably push these tier 2s down, at least get the waves onto the other side of the map, gain control of this, but first, they have their eyes set for the big dinosaur on the other side of the map.
I mean, they still have a lot of boys down. Nitro's still down for another 7 seconds. Won't be able to get to this for another 20 seconds. So I think they are going to be double buffed up on a Saturday afternoon. I don't think they're out of control right now, Lance. I mean, what else can they really do to get back into this game? I honestly just dumbfounded right now.
Yeah, I mean, and before this point, I felt like it was even, and then D-Lab found the little mistake that Professors had made, the little bit of like a better counter engage, a better counter gank to what was happening, and it just cracks the game open because we're 30 minutes into it and the death timers are getting long, and a comp like D-Lab has so much damage and can so quickly power through those neutral objectives and take them so quickly. And once you get the prime, it's so fast to go over and take the primordial Fangtooth, and they're in such a good position to push and, you know, take a massive stranglehold on the gold lead in this game.
They do have a good position for themselves looking into this, but there is some T2s they have to take down before really applying a lot of pressure over to the Professors. But we can't take away from the fact that there is a Richter that can pull you into just pull you out of position in general. There's there's a Sevarog as well that's able to knock you out, multiple people out of position, especially when you're trying to go towards this inhib and kind of put you where you don't want to be. And if you're not near Toasty in these fights, like he's been doing a great job thus far, if you're not near him, I don't think they're going to have the sustain to really kind of squeeze out into these fights going in.
Yeah, I agree, but there is so much CC mitigation on the side of D-Lab. Even Lakeinator's got the Witch Stalker here, so they're going to knock this first tier 2 tower down in the mid lane, pressuring both sides as well, using the lawnmower technique, as my old friend Mycology used to call it, as they are just cleaning the entire map up side by side, just like that, pressuring everywhere. The 1-3-1 works so well when you've got the ability to clear a wave like they do. Oh, and here's the hook, though, and into the inhib. Make It Rain isn't going to affect his part of town. The Thunk's going to come up to stop the howitzer while he's falling down as well. Happy Picker's going to tap his feet around and Happy Feet around the long arm of the law, but Grady needs to be careful as he gets Colossal blown back into his inhibitor. And that's going to be, you know, maybe a little bit of a soft reset. They do have Lobber pressuring on the other side, but a good-ish job of Professors there to at least stop the bleeding and keep their inhib up on that side, as they cannot really pressure with Grady in spectator mode right now.
Yeah, I felt like they just went to be a little bit aggressive. Finesse2 in a bad position, and down he goes. Why are you up there? There, you can just let that wave push in. I think that was just a misplay coming out of Finesse2 here, but we've seen them defense once already. Can they do it another time? Big Crash Bamboon, Black Hole coming out on top. Down goes Nitro, down goes Crazy Fool. 4 is down. They're pushing towards the mid. Only Violence is left. Do you think they can end here right now, Lance, with all this pressure and 4 teams down?
With 45 seconds and only a Sevarog left to be able to defend it, it might be a little bit hard with only 1 wave of minions. But with the Narbash, they're going to speed it up and get it in there a little bit closer. The buffs have fallen off as well, so there is no Orb Prime. But Lobber's got to get up here. He's got to start trying to peel these minions away. They have 4 members on the core. They should be able to take this down, as Violence isn't going to have enough, and that's going to be game 1 going over to Dirty Lake in the boys. Honestly, a very clean performance out of them. It looked a little bit even, but as soon as there was an opportunity for D-Lab to kind of pry themselves ahead, they got that really good, you know, counter gank off of it. You see Lake and Nader absolutely popped off that game. 307 CS, 7-0-4, and you're always preaching about assists and totality of the game. It was 30-19 in favor of Dirty Lake and the boys. Tell me what you think, Six.
Honestly, you already spoke for it for me when I talk about assists and I talk about objectives. Dirty Lake and the boys came here today to shut people up. And this is a tremendous first game that we saw out of them. We saw those assists. They were just more grouped up. They had a better team fight. That Narbash coming into play, a lot of people think he's a weak character, but Toasty, my man Toasty, was playing a Narbash, was playing the game of his life. He played right where he's supposed to be, not in the front, not in the back. He was always healing his entire team in those fights, and that's what we saw there. And honestly, I think Toasty just brought that team together and brought that team fight potential and pretty much sealed the game for Dirty Lake and the boys.
I love my supports getting the recognition that they deserve. That was an absolutely stellar game 1. Do you have any last points before we kick it back to our desk, F6?
Ban Narbash next time, Professors. Ban Narbash.
Ban Narbash, get Violence back on Grux. I have to see it again. Take it away, our dog.
Thank you so much, F6 and Lance. Wow. Game 1, spam the crab for D-Lab. Let's put some respect on these names. You got Abby Picker, Lobber, Lakeinator, Toasty, and Grady. What happened there, Cynic?
I mean, early game, Professors were looking like they were going to take this game relatively simple, and then Lorber just absorbing so much pressure, and Professors trying to force something in the offlane that really wasn't going to happen against as soon as the Greystone hit level 6. And then after that, Happy Picker hitting nasty ultimates, and as you said with the Narbash, like after Toasty got out of the laning phase, he just had a lot of impact in team fights, keeping his team alive. And Grady doesn't know how to press S key, so there's also that when there's a lot of space, the Grady was creating, like there were some situations where Grady kind of inted, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. When he was aggressive with his team, he was creating enough space to allow Toasty to just sit back, heal his team, keep him alive, go back in, keep going, and then just, yeah. Loba, in my opinion, MVP, even though Appy did take the shot away.
Yeah, I think Grady did the same thing where he took out his S key and removed it from his keyboard. But Mr. Meds, you said Professors. What happened there?
So I will say that both of these teams, I think, are playing on the edge, right? They're very good teams. They both know each other very well. I think they're both playing to, you know, their champion's pinnacle, right? And I think, you know, Lance said it just right. There was a couple mistakes here and there, and D-Lab just kind of capitalized on those mistakes. They might have just pushed it a little bit too far, Professors, and that's, you know, kind of where that D-Lab just capitalized on those mistakes and just pushed through. And kind of what Cynic was saying, that Chimera was able to push through all of that CC that they, are supposed to use to keep that Chimera off of them.
Yeah, he did a very beautiful job of cleansing what he needed to do and then jumping back onto whoever he needed to get to over in the back line. But Appy Picker did a really good job with all those like black holes. He did so much damage, and that was just so satisfying to watch. But don't go anywhere. We're going to be heading for a break here, but next up we'll have game numero 2.